Welcome and thanks for joining me for the Gut Health Turnaround Series 2.0, 21 Ways to Heal Your Gut, Reclaim Your Energy, and Look and Feel Amazing. My name is Leah Kline, Health and Wholeness Coach, and I will be your host. And today I'm being joined by Diana Stobo. And thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And we will be talking about life is transformation. But more on that in a second. I'm going to give you a little background information. Diana Stobo is a classically trained Cornell culinary artist, whole food advocate, and health and wellness coach. She uses her culinary and nutritional expertise as well as her own life-changing experiences to instruct and motivate others to eat for health, vibrancy, and beauty. Diana is an award-winning author of 3 books featuring healthy, delicious raw food recipes, including Get Naked Fast, Stripping Away the Food That's Weighing You Down. This hot-selling title is a practical guide that Diana used to heal herself from illness, lose over 100 pounds, and change her life forever. As a 50-year-old mom of 3, Diana looks and feels better than ever before, and she loves sharing her knowledge and recipes with those looking to make changes to their lifestyle. Learn more about Diana's story at www.dianastobo.com. And so let's just jump in here, and why don't you tell us about that life-changing health experience that started you off?
Well, first of all, I have got to update that bio. I'm like, okay. Almost 52. And I'm not really coaching so much anymore. I've written several books. 2 are award-winning that are actually published. The rest are all ebooks. And I now run a retreat center in Costa Rica that allows people to come down and feel, the shift and change when they come down, called the retreat. And I develop products, mostly gut health products that, from probiotics to digestive bitters to the Truth Bar, which is launching in March of next year. So there are a lot of things that I've been doing based on, healing myself, which is kind of what we're going to talk about as transformations. Like you kind of have to flow with, go with the punches, flow with life, wherever it takes you, just keep doing it and going in the direction that, it's pointing for you. Because a lot of doors open and you have to decide at that point, are you going to walk through them or are you going to just look at them? So, yeah.
So how did you get started in all this?
Well, I was very sick for a long time. I mean, if I can trace back into my complete life, I'm very sensitive. Always been very sensitive to foods, to environments, to changes in my life, which usually affect my body. I take on, they call it an empath, when you take on things into your body and you don't know how to process them. So it wasn't until later in life that I finally just kind of hit a wall. I had an ulcer. Was putting on weight, which turns out isn't necessarily from foods so much, but from disease, candida, things that, kind of culminate in a group. Like, I try to teach people now, food's important. It's the one thing we can control, but there are other issues as well. There are environmental stresses of life. All that affects your gut, your weight, your health, your brain, etc. So you have to take all those things into consideration. Anyway, I hit a wall and I needed to make a change. And the first thing that I could do, one thing that I could do is control what I put in my mouth. And that began, the cycle of upheaval. And and then you kind of just open yourself to the shifts and changes that are made during that opening. I know that when people cleanse their body and they start finding good health, it's not just about the aesthetic part of how they look and feel, but really their spirit opens up. They become more intuitive. There's a lot of shedding of old emotional issues. And what happens is that spiral upward continues to break away old material. And when I say toxic material, it's not just the foods, it's the emotional level. And I think that a lot of people, and we talked before we started the interview, it's an overall health. People need to open up and allow the emotional stuff to heal too. And then once the emotional stuff heals, the body just continues to grow and transform into, a light being in a way. The difficult part for people when there's a shift and change and an opening is that then they become more sensitive. Because they're desensitized when they're filling themselves with more stress, more bad foods, more negativity, all that. And so when they open up, they become more sensitive to a loud voice or someone's negativity or one little cookie, And so they begin to evolve into a very in tune machine. Mm-hmm. Really. It's something that, and a lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people don't want to open up that much. There's a fear of what's going to happen if I open Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. I just checked into OHI, Optimal Health Institute. I've never been there before, but I've heard great things. And I went for a week, mostly because I've been traveling so much, and I'm starting to fall apart. If you travel too much, you put yourself in a situation, you got to check in and go, okay, you know what? I need a reboot. I need a reset. And I'm clearly not able to do it on my own right now with all the travel. So I need to put myself in an environment where I have no choices but to be healthy and rest. Done. Yeah. Okay. So I went there, and the breakdowns of people just watching, just remembering again how amazing 1 week, 7 days, what that can do for you. Just 7 days. It just shifts everybody. They come in all wound up, and, not only do they drop weight, but they're glowing, and their mind, they go from annoyed people to happy people. Their body starts to unwind, and shifts and changes in the joints, like, ow, 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 my back. And then by day 5, they're like, I feel great. I don't have any back pain. It's really tremendously eye-opening to see what a little change can make. A little change. Just diet. That was just diet. That's just diet.
Yeah.
I always say that, your life is a circle. You've got the circle of life, and there's all these components, like a pie, right? And in each piece of the pie, there's your career, your family, your love life, your financials. Oh, and then there's Ziggy Dog. You have all these parts of yourself that, and you can kind of say, well, my career's good, but my finances aren't good. I'm kind of happy in my physical, but I'm not getting enough activity. You can look at all these things, but where is your entry point? What change are you going to make that circle spin? Because when you make that positive change, all those things get better. Everything. You see? And I always think that the easiest solution is literally food, because that is something we can control.
Yeah, true.
What am I going to eat today? What am I going to put in my body? We may not have time for exercise today, but at least I can have, good nutrients into my system to help clear me. Lots of water, lots of fluids. What goes in has to come out. So then we're going to talk about that digestive health. And really, you have to think about if your emotions are in your body, and a good portion of your body, forget the appendages and your extremities, right? Yeah. A good portion of your body is your gut. Your intestines are how many miles long or whatever, right?
Lot, yeah.
So, it's not just about putting it in. It's not like you have a tube that goes straight down. You've got to go through a long, windy process. And along the way, things get stuck and tucked away, and things get mildewed, and things get, mucusy. And if you don't eat the right foods, you're just going to create this whole cluster of, issues. Yeah. And those are going to absorb into the tissue of your intestinal wall, your stomach lining, your colon, and they're going to affect your skin. They're going to affect your mind. They're going to affect your attitude. They're going to affect, every part that your arthritis, how you function, how you move your body. It's going to affect your muscles. So it is actually the most important part of transformation, is getting the gut right.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So what are some of the things that you did to heal yourself?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I'm not doing now that, you do forget. One thing I'm not doing now that I should be doing is colonics. And only because I'm traveling so much, and where do you find a colonic center in, so-and-so Texas, so-and-so Costa Rica, so-and-so Florida. You're like, I don't know, just keep going. But I like to do a nice cleansing, at least monthly to really get out old material. And I've been doing that since I was 19 years old. So it's not new, but I focused on that. I focused on what was going in and what was going out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things I did was eliminate what I call the six no's: no dairy, no wheat, no sugar, no meat, no caffeine, and no alcohol. When I eliminated those within 10 days, life changed. Then I started to increase more raw foods into my diet. And as my raw food increased, I decided, actually, before it was even a trend, I decided to just do all raw foods. And I found that my energy soared. I healed my body. I actually got very lean, very healthy, probably turned back the clock at least 10 years on my life. And I did that for almost 2 years. So I was a raw vegan for 2 years, which is when I created my books. Started writing recipes, because as a trained French chef, I needed to figure out how to prepare foods that were interesting. So I took that culinary experience and made it more raw, which was not easy, actually, to create some, that comforting kind of food that you love, that makes you satisfied, because there's a lot of emotion involved in food. People don't mess with my food.
Yeah.
People used to say, listen, you can tell me to go work out, but don't mess with what I put in my body, because I like my mac and cheese. I like my cream in my coffee. I like my, and so I had to create things that were good substitutions that people go, ooh, that's equally as comforting. You could eat a sprout salad every day, but is that really comforting? Like, after a while, you're like, all right, I feel good, but I really, really, really want something creamy now. Or I really want something.
I'm getting bored.
I'm getting bored. Going back to OHI, literally the food was horrendous. It was awful. It was awful. But, you kind of desensitize yourself after, a few days of eating sprouts and green juice with no flavor. And so, but I couldn't do that. Anyway, it's a step-by-step process. And I think that's why I wanted to talk about transformation. I don't think you can go in. It's not my character to go in cold turkey for anything. I have to dabble. I have to do my research. I definitely like to investigate how my body responds to things.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel it's all or nothing. You remember the whole, I have to go on a diet. I'm going on a diet because I'm getting married in 6 months, and people are like, I'm going to lose some weight. They have a 6-month mark, and at that 6-month mark, they're done. So they block out 6 months of their life to go on a diet and deprive themselves and not learn anything, really, because they got a 6-month goal. And when 6 months hit, they go on their honeymoon, they drink like fish, they eat burgers all day, they gain back their weight, and by a year later, they're like, what happened? But because you didn't learn anything. You just went on a diet to lose weight. You didn't change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Itty bitty little changes make a huge difference. Huge. So that's what I did. That's really what I did. And then I stopped being all raw for reasons, actually health reasons. My body, and I don't know why. Some people do very well with a vegan diet, a raw vegan diet. I highly recommend it for a year to clear out old disease. But I don't know if it's sustainable after a year for everybody. And I went a little too long. So my body became catabolic. I didn't even know what catabolic meant, honestly. I like I said, I'm a petri dish. I learned and I observed, and catabolic was my body started to eat its own protein. It shut down because I wasn't getting enough protein. I don't know if it's because I'm an O-type blood, or, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's age. if A bloods are perfect vegans and O's need meat. But I was instructed by a blood worker actually who said you need to start eating eggs. You need eggs and you need the yolks in order to increase your health, which I did. And so I started incorporating eggs into my diet, and then, slowly got back into a more plant-based, but incorporating fishes and chickens and eggs. I was going to speak in Spanish to you at times. So, and then I'm a little bit more balanced, I think. I have a little more balance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what's interesting is over the years, because I wrote my book in 2010 mm-hmm. and won a couple of awards, and people have called me and told me that my book, which by the way is going to be what I'm going to give all your listeners, is one of the books that they keep. It's the book that they keep. Mm-hmm. They said I ended up buying all these books to try new things, and at the end of the day, mm-hmm. I threw away that library and kept yours. And the reason is because it's really simple. I break it down. I take the science out of it. I take the difficult recipes. It's not all raw. It's actually there's really solid, easy recipes in there, and it's just basic. And it's the basics that you need to know. Just enough information to remind you to get back on, mm-hmm. Get back on that horse. Okay, I don't have to go cold turkey. I just need to follow a couple simple rules here. Mm-hmm. And these rules, these little baby steps will change my life. Mm-hmm. So they keep that book. But anyway, that was how I lost my train of thought. So now, okay, so that was not even a vegan book. That was actually, it has kefir and it has honey in that. And so a lot of raw vegans were attacking me when it came out in 2010 because the whole raw food movement was like kind of hierarchical, like, oh, how dare you call this vegan when you have honey in there? You know what I mean? It was more dogmatic, and people weren't thinking about health. They were more thinking about, I am a raw vegan, pat yourself on the back because you are in a category of raw vegans. My approach to wellness is follow your body. Mm-hmm. There's no dogmatic approach. There's no rules. In fact, in the book, I call it Know the Nose, K-N-O-W. Know your nose. Know the foods that weigh you down. Don't eliminate them completely if you don't want to, but pay attention to the ones that are causing your body harm and just decrease them and increase the vegetables. That's it. It's very simple. It's not like, I can never have dairy again. No, that chunk of cheese may taste really delicious, one day. But just know the next day you're going to kind of like, green it out. Have a steak for dinner if it's a good piece of meat. Just make sure it's a good piece of meat that's, grass-fed, pasture, whatever, organic, and enjoy it. But don't have bacon and eggs and toast for breakfast. Don't have, whatever, nachos for lunch. Oh, I love nachos. And don't have a pizza for dinner with a Coke and an ice cream sundae afterwards. That is not reality. You can't live like that. You're just going to be 900 pounds, unhealthy, and you're going to die very soon. But mm-hmm. if you have that once in a while, fantastic. Mm-hmm. You deserve to enjoy. That's what life is about, keeping yourself happy. But when you're on a day-to-day, your homeostasis should be grounded in health, should be grounded in knowing the nose, having a routine, eating some foods that your body likes on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And then, here comes Saturday night, pizza time. And then back to your homeostasis, you see? Mm-hmm. It's workable, and it tells people, I can do this. I can do this, mm-hmm. Take away options in life. So now I eat more fats and foods that, I probably should have eaten before. And of course that helps with hormones. That helps with, I'm a little heavier than I was when I was completely raw, but I'm probably healthier than I was, ultimately. Especially as I'm approaching my second part of my second half century. I'm on the second half century.
Yeah, I've actually, have had a similar experience where when I was younger, I was a vegetarian. and got to a point where I started, we decided to start adding a little bit of, the protein in. And of course we did eat eggs, and, so we weren't complete vegan type things, but ended up later discovering I had anemia. And it's like, okay, my body needs the iron that it's getting from the protein, and it needs the fat. It needs that for hormones and mass and things like that. So I've had a very similar experience in some ways, and I know how that works, and how it feels.
I went through an early menopause, and I believe that is because I was so green, and I remember I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I was emceeing this raw vegan, what was it called? Raw Living Expo. And I was on stage, and I can already feel my body changing because of the menopause. And I was getting thicker, and I was getting my face, everything was changing. And I was like, what's going on? And I felt like my skin was sagging, like I was starting to get saggy. And I looked out into the audience at the Raw Living Expo, and I'm looking at these women who were younger than me, and men too. And they had dark circles under their eyes, and their skin was sagging, and they were fluffy. They didn't have any muscle. And I'm like, wait a second, these are all raw foodists. And, they don't look so great. What's going on? So that's when I clicked in. I'm like, I need to start eating more eggs. I need to start eating things that are going to, give me hormone balance, and it's still a shell game. I think people think they're going to find a fix that works for them, but your body's always changing, and you kind of have to roll the punches.
Mm-hmm.
I may decide to go raw again for a year because my body needs a clean out. But we have to keep educating ourselves and roll with the punches. If that particular diet doesn't work for you, maybe someone tells you to have apple cider vinegar because it's going to clean your intestines and give you probiotics. Well, guess what I found out? I'm allergic to apple cider vinegar. My body doesn't react well to it. There are people who actually have a bad reaction to coconut oil. So you have to discover and kind of use yourself as a science experiment,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Usually if it doesn't taste good, if it's something you're like, oh, can't stand eating this, but I know it's good for me, it's probably not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Your body tells you immediately, not good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are some of your favorite suggestions with people that have gut issues as far as what they can do?
Well, I'm going to give a basic list, which, and this is for all health, and of course, then we'll break it down. Drink a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
Get more sleep.
Yeah.
Eliminate stress the best you can. Mm-hmm. Nothing ruins the gut like stress.
Mm-hmm.
And for gut, I would get rid of sugars and breads.
Yeah.
Eliminate the sugars in the breads, because that's just yeast and candida. It's like a breeding ground. Everybody has some level of candida. Everybody. Yeah. But when you begin to, feed it, it just grows and grows and grows. Mm-hmm. And it's systemic. So it doesn't just sit in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into your brain. It goes into your joints. It goes into your reproductive system. It goes everywhere. And if you're feeding it and you're just a breeding ground for candida, how do you know if you have candida? If you crave sugar, you have candida. Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
People who are dying for a sweet have candida.
Mm-hmm.
It's, alcohol. The biggest problem with alcohol is that it's, sugar-based.
Yeah.
If you like your alcohol, learn to love tequila. Just, because you need to find a low sugar alcohol, otherwise you're just feeding the candida again. If you love your coffee, there's a lot of great benefits about coffee. I have nothing against coffee, but don't have it with cream and sugar.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually fantastic to have before a workout. It actually stimulates the blood and, stimulates the bowels and gives you the energy you need and actually helps you burn more fat. So
mm-hmm.
You have to try it out. You have to experiment with your body. You have to make sure that you understand what you're dealing with,
Yeah.
I hear people all the time, I'm going to cut out coffee. Like, why? Like, oh, because it's bad for you. I'm like, that's actually not bad for you. Like, how are you drinking it? What's, that's not what do you have after your coffee? And I always investigate when I coach with people is I say, what is your diet? What's your current diet? And what they think is the problem is usually not what the problem is. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, I have coffee in the morning. I go, is it black? Yeah, I have black. I only have one. I got to cut that out. And then they say, well, then I have cereal with almond milk. I'm like, okay, where's the problem here? Yeah. The cereal's the problem. Like, what kind of cereal are you eating? And then they get into their lunch and they're like, and then I have a vegetarian sandwich. And I'm like, okay, so you're having more bread. So you've got 3 servings of bread now, which turns to sugar in your body. Yeah. Whole grain bread, is it sprouted? What's going on? So you start to look at it and you go, oh, and then they go, well, and then I don't really have dinner. I don't eat anything until like 10 o'clock at night, and I crave and I get a bowl of ice cream. Like, right. So you want to cut out coffee. You see what I mean? Yeah. Intention. They get stuck in this mindset. Oh, coffee's bad for me. So it's really about taking a step back, investigating and looking at your life. I'll just give you a little bit of, like, for me, for the last year, I've been living mostly in Costa Rica. You're lucky that I'm here. I'm hardly ever in United States in the last 12 months. And the coffee there is fantastic. But I got into a place where I was starting to do, they have this cane sugar. It's literally, you cut it and it's fantastic. And it became my little thing in the morning. And then I would put the almond milk in it. So I was having coffee with milk and sugar every morning. And I would have 2 cups and that would be my breakfast. And, psychologically, I told myself, well, I'm having my almond milk and a little bit of sugar, so it's okay. Well, my body I started increasing my candida just by waking up in the morning and having sugar, And so once I took a step back, and trust me, it took me like 4 or 5 months to pay attention to the fact that I had been increasingly putting sugar into my diet. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, shoot. Because I was like, oh, it's all natural. It's fine. And I eliminated that and helped a lot. Now I don't even want coffee. So the sugar and the coffee were like, they were like a nice little couple. Like, yeah. It came into my life and they're like, hey, let's have a party. Which then increased my wine. Like, I don't even like wine. I don't even like drinking wine because I don't like the way it makes me feel. But I noticed that I was starting to crave wine. Well, why? Because it has so much sugar. Mm-hmm. So your body starts to crave the sugars, and next thing you know, you're on a candida fest.
I know that's kind of the insidious nature of sugar. It's like you let a little bit in, and then all of a sudden it's like, hold it, what happened here?
You give a massive rabbit hole. It's true. It's really true. And it creeps up on you and you're just like, oh, I love my salads with lemon juice and all that, but now I'm craving, something sweet in them. And then you get to a place where it's really hard to stop the cycle. You have to, that's when you have to cold turkey. You got to give yourself 3 days. You got to give yourself 3 days. So if you're ever going to do a cold turkey, give yourself 3 days to break that habit. If you don't want coffee, then do 3 days without coffee. And you'll find that you won't crave it. Do 3 days without sugar, and you'll find that you won't crave it. It needs 3 days to kind of set into your mind and into your body. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The next day is the hardest. It gets better as time elapses on that. So what's something, obviously some of the things we've been talking about, but that our listeners could, do today?
Well, how about do for the next 3 days?
Yeah.
Like we just cut out the sugar.
Cut out the sugar.
Cut out your sugar. There's probiotics are a really big thing right now. And I think that there's a lot to be said for probiotics. But in fact, I obviously am a probiotic fan. But I think that more importantly is take out the things first and then put things in. Create a breeding ground. Get rid of the breeding ground and create a clean slate in your intestinal environment. So get rid of the things, because even if you take probiotics, sure, they're going to go in there and sit inside your intestines. But imagine, like, you've already got your intestines, you've got layer and layer and layer in there. and you probably got bubbles of candida like forming, and every time you eat, just say, thank you, and he eats it. So if you take a probiotic, it can't get through. It can't get through to the intestinal walls and create good bacteria. Although you can take them simultaneously with cleaning out.
Yeah.
I don't want to push anything here, but I make a digestive bitters that's herbs, and it's exactly what it does is it goes in and cleans out your intestines. It increases bile flow. It's all the herbs that you need to like stimulate the liver and the gallbladder to increase bile flow. And then because we're supposed to secrete, I think, a liter of bile each day, and the average human being in today's world secretes a quarter of a cup. And bile is what goes in and cleans everything out. That's why when people have their gallbladders taken out, it's like, that's what produces bile. Yeah. You know, if you take that out, then you have no bile producer. Your liver can produce bile as well, but not as well as the gallbladder can. So you need to produce enzymatic activity and create bile flow to go in and kind of flush it through. And that's what the digestive bitters do. So eliminate sugars, eliminate breads, drink more water, and flush out. Increase your probiotics, increase your herbs, and clean out the system. And then reevaluate. Give yourself time, little steps. That would be the first thing I would do. If someone had digestive problems. Yeah. And get a colonic.
Yeah.
Get a colonic. Clean that out.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us a little more? Obviously, we've been talking a little bit about it, but about your free giveaway for our listeners.
Yeah. So it's an ebook of my Get Naked Fast, which is the book that everybody claims is the one that they keep. You can always get a hard copy if you love it, but the ebook is great. You read through it. It's super easy. I say it's a 45-minute read, and that's if you read every single word. And then it's just great, simple recipes. And these recipes, if you do these recipes for 10 days, you will have done exactly what I just said. You will have cleared out your body. You'll probably lose 10 pounds. Most people who do it for 10 days lose 10 pounds of inflammation. And you'll feel fantastic. So that ebook is all yours. I'm sure you're going to give them a link to it. Yeah,
let me go ahead. I'll give you the link on here just so it's on the recording for those listening. All of the freebies will be on the speaker page, which is linked in every single email we send out. So that is also a way you can get there. But it's Diana Stobo, STOBO, leadpages.net/free-GNF-ebook/. And obviously, we will have the link for you on the page. So if you don't want to have to try to do that, the easy way will be to go to the speaker page. And if somebody wants to connect with you and learn more about what you're doing and what they can do, how would they go about doing that?
Well, nowadays it's a little tough, but you can go to dianastobo.com. And of course, that's become more of an e-commerce site than anything. But I'm down at the retreat in Costa Rica. If anybody wants to come down for a week and clean their body out, I'm always there to be hands-on. It's great. Yeah.
And how do they find that?
TheRetreatCostaRica.com.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
I keep things simple. DianaStobo.com, TheRetreatCostaRica.com.
Okay. All right. That sounds sufficiently easy. So, thank you, Diane, for joining me today. And thanks, everyone, for listening. Come back tomorrow for more of the Gut Health Turnaround series.